Burrow back, expected to play Turkey Day, but Higgins will be out. Higgins out, Chase back, Burrow back. What's it all mean? Baker Mayfield, we got good news so far. MRI results are pending, but AC joint not ruled out yet for week 13, but certainly could miss a week or two if the MRI results come back in a way that suggests he needs some time or he could cause further damage. Again, non-throwing shoulder, but looks like an AC joint sprain, and it could be a tolerance issue, pain tolerance issue. Could very well hamper him though. There's a lot to consider. Egbuka's value. Egbuka's been in some sort of rookie slump, rookie wall, trying to break through, and Baker as in help matters. We've got Shadur Sanders. This team, the Browns hate Shedeur. They absolutely do. Stefanski should be ashamed of himself. This Browns coaching staff should be ashamed of themselves. The display in the locker room after this game, celebrating the win, talking about the defense only, barely mentioning Shadur Sanders. This team absolutely has set Shedeur up for failure. Failure couldn't hold him back. Shedeur made history, won this game as a rookie starting quarterback, and his coach barely mentioned his name. And he should be ashamed of himself. And everybody else that defends this situation doesn't know what in the hell they're talking about. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Starting off with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is back, baby. He's back. Get him in your lineups if you've got him, unless you've got some sort of alternate situation you traded into or drafted and you just have dilemmas. We'll certainly walk you through the dilemma or try and figure it out together. Joe Burrow back. Higgins in the concussion protocol. Higgins will not play on Turkey Day. We will see Jamar Chase back and hopefully getting fed his full course meals. Joe Burrow is certainly capable of top 5 fantasy football quarterback numbers whenever on the field. Could he have a rusty game back? Certainly possible, but Joe Burrow back, that's great news. And here's one of the many reports that are flowing in on this over the last handful of minutes, 10, 15 minutes in this breaking news. Thanksgiving Day against the Ravens will be Joe Burrow's return, so get him fired up in your lineup. Now, I'll tell you this right now. Let's go straight to Shedeur real quickly. This is the most disrespectful display of coaching and just organization decision-making I've seen in some time, dating back all the way to draft day. Watching 31 other teams just completely put Shedeur on a list. No one's drafting him. No one should draft him. This is like he's getting pushed out of the NFL before he's even in it. And the amount of people that run their mouth on this topic about how Shedeur's arrogant or he's disrespectful. This kid might have arrogant moments. He might say things that come off sometimes arrogant. But I even saw it in the chat too, and this is how I feel. How is it any different than Jackson Dart? How is it any different than Cam Scatterbo? How is it any different than any other quarterback that runs their mouth or wide receiver or running back and has a confidence or arrogance about them? This kid comes with a lot of humility as well. What he's endured during this entire process, and if you think he hasn't been humble at all, you aren't paying attention one single bit. No, I'm not saying he's always humble. No, I'm not saying he hasn't said things before. But it's ridiculous to insert that this kid hasn't taken this entire situation in stride. Hasn't taken this entire situation where he's been shoved down the entire time he's been in Cleveland. Drafted as the second quarterback, which is laughable. This organization saying Dylan Gabriel's their future, laughable. All of them should be fired. Stefanski, everyone should be fired if they think Dylan Gabriel is a starting quarterback in this National Football League. And all of them should be fired for not giving Shedeur the proper support walking into this game, trying to hold him back. He wins anyway. He makes history. He breaks records. He comes in and does what he does, throws a dime, throws a dart, helps win this game, and this coaching staff marches around handing out game balls. No game ball to Shedeur. They talk about the defense. They talk about all the other stuff that happened in this game. And at the end, Stefanski looks over and goes, hey, now rookie quarterback started a good job, Shedeur. All right, back to who we're talking about, the people that matter in this locker room. There's no, oh, he's our starter. I'm not going to get into this right now. This is ridiculous. Extreme disrespect. You can say what you want. I don't respect your opinion. If you say that Shedeur hasn't earned more respect than right now, I don't respect your opinion. I don't think you know ball. And I think if that's how you feel, that he doesn't at least demand more respect, that he hasn't been walked over by this organization, I don't think you paid attention one single bit. I think Shadur Sanders, this is a mockery. This is one of the worst displays of an organization stepping all over a player and not acknowledging the talent that's in front of them. Maybe he fails. Maybe he does. But I'll tell you something, Dylan Gabriel's not succeeding. And Shedeur's got a lot more ability that you haven't even tapped into yet. You didn't prepare yet. He wasn't prepared to go out there and play the game prior. And then he walks into this game. He didn't even take any snaps with the starters leading into yesterday or leading into the week prior. Then walking into this week, he finally got work with the starters in practice, goes out there unprepared, unsupported, and wins a game, makes history, and his coach barely acknowledges him in the locker room. Barely acknowledges him in the locker room. Hey, we're going to talk about this guy. And then Shedeur's going, maybe he's talking about me. No, moves on. Let's talk about the defense. Oh, and save the best for last was his quote. And save the best. They say save the best for last. How about the defense? Oh, the defense is good. The defense did good. But how about Shedeur? Shedeur, and he says it so disrespectful. Oh, where's our, what's his name? Oh, how about our rookie quarterback? Yeah, he's a rookie. How about our rookie quarterback? Shedeur, good job. Okay, let's move on. It was such a display of mockery. Just a display of mockery. And I can't believe that we're not hearing more outrage on this topic. And I can't believe some of you actually defend the Browns or start ripping on Shedeur or start saying, oh, he's arrogant. What about Jackson Dart? Oh, but that's fun to watch, right? His arrogance comes off as less arrogant, I guess, to some of you. What about Shedeur? What has this kid not done? Regardless of being, let's say, egotistical or before the NFL draft saying a lot of weird things, maybe his dad put pressure on him to go in and tank some interviews. All of that's in the past. And from being drafted, you can't judge this kid from that moment moving forward. You can't sit here and say maybe he made mistakes. Maybe his dad's such a big shadow. Imagine living in the shadow of Deion Sanders. And if his dad said you go in there and you tank this interview and you're like, yes, sir. Like, this is how he was raised. Once he broke away from his father and went to Cleveland, he has been a completely different person. And he has been humbled by the experience, no doubt. And he's also acted way more humble than so many of you want to admit. Shadur Sanders has gotten an absolute unfair hand dealt to him, and he's taken it in stride. He goes out there unprepared, wins a game. His coach doesn't care. And let me tell you another thing. They don't want him in Cleveland. They don't want him to start. I don't know what it is about Vrabel with Henderson and Stefanski with Sanders, but it's almost as if they admit they're good, they admit they're bad because they didn't see it. They didn't see it enough, they didn't see it quick enough, and so they just enable themselves to continue to go down this other road. I don't know what it is, but it seems like in the case of the Cleveland Browns, they want to set this kid up for failure, yet they spent a draft pick on him. Why? So no other team could have him? And then that's the other thing. If a team came knocking right now and said, I'll give you a first rounder for him, they'd say no. They'd say no, but they don't want him. They want to hold him down. They want to hold him back, but they won't let him free. They won't let him go anywhere. I almost guarantee you they'd say no to a trade offer right now, no matter what it was. No, we're going to go ahead and hold on to him so we can hold him down and make him not worth anything, because that's what we're here to do. We were born to hold Shedeur back. It's unbelievable the amount of hate that is sent toward this kid by not only his own organization, not only the media, but a lot of the fan base in the NFL. They want to hate this kid so bad. Oh, he's arrogant. Oh, this is ridiculous. Oh, he's such an arrogant kid. But yet Jackson Dart is such a fun, arrogant kid to watch. Cam Scadaboo's arrogance, this headbutting duo, and I think they're fun too. I'm not ripping on Cam. I'm not ripping on Dart. I love Dart and I love Scadaboo. But if you love Dart and Scadaboo's confidence and arrogance, why in the hell don't you like Shedeur's? He just comes off differently. What is it about Shedeur that makes it so unappealing in him, but not in Dart, not in Scat, not in other players? This guy has been nothing but humbled by this experience. He goes out and wins and gets completely disrespected by his staff. And it's a disgrace. The Browns posting stuff left and right, not acknowledging it, no one acknowledging it, and Shedeur gets no love whatsoever. I hope somehow, some way, this organization decides to trade him away. I hope that Liam Cohen says that the blonde stallion, the man with the silver hair, whatever, the gold hair, the lion, the player that had a lot of hope in Trevor Lawrence, I hope he says goodbye to T-Law and opens the door to Sanders and tries to pair both college players back together. Give Travis Hunter his college quarterback, Shadur Sanders. Try and figure out how that can work in Jacksonville. Take him away from this organization that wants nothing to do with him. Ridiculous. We've also got, as I've said earlier, news on Baker, and this affects Emeka Egbuka. But the early prognosis, at least, is that Baker Mayfield has a sprained AC joint, and this could be hopefully a pain tolerance issue. Not yet ruled out for Week 13. However, I think it's probably 50-50. He misses a week, but there is a chance that he could play. And the MRI results are pending, and the MRI results will certainly let us know what we're looking at for week number 13 and beyond, and what this means for Emeka Egbuka. I will say this, that Buka didn't have, the best string of games coming into this game and didn't have the greatest result in this game. And Baker's partially responsible for that. So while we're all so quick to say, oh, without Baker, he's toast or whatever, look, I don't love Teddy. Teddy Bridgewater comes in, doesn't really connect with Egbuka early on, but at least the only big strike between quarterback and Buka was between Teddy Bridgewater and Buka, and it was a 33-yard strike, I believe. Buka had 2 catches for 0 yards walking into that moment when Teddy Bridgewater did throw a 30-plus yard pass to Egbuka. And so there is some hope that this team, this organization, this offense, this game scheming will be, hey, let's get Buka the ball at the line of scrimmage. It was astounding to me that they didn't say, hey, let's get him 4 or 5 quick slants. Let's get him the football in a wide back variety of situations versus just throwing to him downfield and trying to connect on Calvin Ridley type action like back in the day in Jacksonville, where it's like, Calvin Ridley, go catch this 50-yard bomb or nothing at all. That's the way Buka's kind of been treated the last handful of weeks. Get this kid the ball. Instill some confidence in him again. Have him have the ball 4 or 5 times just right away, immediately at the line of scrimmage. Turn him into a kick returner of sorts and let him do his work on the field. There's nothing that he's doing on the field that suggests that he's going to stay in a rut or that he's not a good player or not a top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League. Watching him, I do believe he still has that ability. He just hasn't been fed the ball appropriately. The Bucs, Baker, this entire scheming, everything, the play calling, the design, the lack of design plays for Egbuka, that is responsible for Egbuka's output more than Egbuka is responsible for Egbuka's output or lack thereof. So people can rip on Egbuka all they want. Oh, I'm going to bench him this week. I'm going to put him on the bench. Oh, he's not even a wide receiver 3. Do what you want. I'm starting Egbuka in every league I have him in. I'm not even hesitating. I'm not putting him on the bench at all. One single league is not going to see Egbuka hit the bench. That's a ridiculous conversation. The moment he bounces back, those people are going to feel sick to their stomach when Egbuka has 110 yards and 2 touchdowns in some upcoming game. He is a marvel. He's a top 10 wide receiver. Maybe he's in a rut right now. I understand that. I understand how that feels. I understand what that means. I understand that what's on the line. You got to put in a player that can deliver. But at the end of the day, you can't sit a guy like Buka. You just can't. And I believe they'll figure out ways to get him the football. Hopefully Baker's back, and Baker with Bucky, hopefully Bucky returns this week. Bucky should return this week. Hopefully that helps out even Teddy Bridgewater if that's the case. But if Baker does play, if he's able to play with Bucky back, we're going to see, I believe, this kid return to form to some degree, and it can get progressively better as the season moves along. To give up on Buka, I saw a comment earlier on the live stream, Buka's season's over or whatever. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. Tell me you're watching more football than just the red zone Ronnie type stuff. Tell me you're not just a box score Bobby. Let's hit the super chat here that's sitting here. $20 hauler from BBQ, dropping fire. BBQ, appreciate you. BBQ 20.
Alert. Super chat alert.
BBQ says, truly a disgrace that the NFL hated Sanders because of NIL association family, to the point where they sabotage his draft day before he finally giving them the okay to draft him. So many teams needed a QB and passed. The Raiders were one, BBQ, that was absolutely ridiculous. The Jaguars passing on him over and over when they could have paired Travis Hunter and Shedeur was ridiculous. I think 31 teams dropped the ball. I think 32 teams dropped the ball. I think drafting Dylan Gabriel ahead of Shedeur put the Browns in an even worse position than the teams that didn't draft him. Because now you're forcing yourself, by drafting Gabriel ahead of Shedeur, you're forcing yourself to look to Gabriel first. You're not giving yourself even a fair chance to assess whether you messed up by following suit with all the other NFL teams. The fact that you draft Dylan Gabriel ahead of Shedeur puts you in such a deficit in decision-making and being competent in looking at this situation. You're in a worse situation than the 31 other teams. It was almost as if they wanted to draft him. They didn't draft him. They drafted Dylan Gabriel. Then they said he's still there. Then they drafted him, and they go, now what? Now we can't use him. Like, what a dumb move. People said, oh, smart by the Browns. They got him later. No, stupidity by the Browns, because now they can't even play him. Now they put themselves in a position where they look like morons if they go out and start Shedeur over Dylan Gabriel, and people say, why'd you even draft Dylan Gabriel? Why didn't you draft Shedeur over Dylan Gabriel? Why'd you take Dylan Gabriel at all? And the fact that I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am, that the Browns wouldn't even let Shedeur go free. If a team came along and said, we'll give you a first rounder, how's that? They would say, no, we want to hold the kid back. I'm not saying he's going to get a first rounder. I'm merely trying to emphasize that I think the Browns want this kid to crash and burn, and I have no idea why. Maybe not the entire organization, but for whatever reason, this head coach, this staff, they should be fired for how they've handled this situation. They should be fired for the incompetence in thinking they have a good quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. They should be fired for not making a statement right now about giving Shedeur a shot. They should be fired because they think they can go back to Dylan Gabriel, and they're not even going to make. It wouldn't surprise me one single bit if they did. And if they did, they should be fired immediately. It's nonsense. All right, BBQ, appreciate you, BBQ to the mother freaking moon. We got another $20 hauler here from 2306.
Alert. Super chat alert.
23, appreciate you. Appreciate you dropping the super chat, young man. Full PPR, 14 man league, 6-6, just lost 1.5 points. Playoff race is tight, but in confident. I think you mean I'm confident I can go 8-6. Team is Caleb, Barkley, Hendy, J-Mo, Scary Terry, Bowers, Chase Brown, London, Wilson. Yeah, hopefully you get London back. Move London or hold the team. If you could still trade, I'd consider a trade for London, but like, what are you going to get? You know, can you go out there and get a combo of players? Like, London's still a top 6-7 wide receiver, I think, to everybody. Even though Cousins is definitely a downgrade, I don't think London, who was a top 5-6 wide receiver walking into this week, he obviously missed the contest, but if he had played, you still be, in everyone's 5-6 territory. Can you go get a very badly playing JJ or Egbuka or Rice? Rice isn't playing badly, but Rice having no touchdown, people scared the hell about Mahomes and the Chiefs for whatever reason. Can you make that kind of move, like a lateral move for Rice would be amazing. Even if you had to give up something to trade London for Rice, I probably would do that because I think Rice is going to go on a tear down the stretch. And he had 8 catches for 140 yards, but it was like quietly done, and he still is disrespected in many ways. So you could do a lateral trade there or give up a little more and do that lateral trade. You could go get JJ, or is JJ not even a top 20 wide receiver? It's hard to say. Getting Egbuka, is he going to bounce back? Hard to say. I wouldn't do those straight up, obviously, but you could then get your running back upgrade doing that. You could upgrade into a Rico Dowdle. You could upgrade into a Javonte Williams. You could upgrade into a potential Chase Brown. You could upgrade into a handful of running backs that fit the bill for that type of downgrade at wide receiver to upgrade at RB. Other RBs you could maybe even get thrown in would be Hampton, who's coming back from injury. Dowdle is one of my favorite players right now in fantasy to go acquire. Acquire Bucky. People still question Bucky. Kyron had a bad game. Maybe you can get Kyron Williams and JJ for London and something small. So those are potential ideas you could kick around. However, looking at your team, I will say that having, Barkley is probably the more movable piece. Maybe you're trying to move Barkley and something Scary Terry. Barkley and potentially Wilson, who's hot right now. Wilson and Barkley for one slight running back lateral step into Dowdle before people see Dowdle play, into Kyron, maybe Barkley into Kyron using Michael Wilson. Might be the more attractive maneuver because Barkley wasn't hitting holes, didn't seem to run with aggression. The team doesn't know how to run the ball. The offensive line is in shambles. I think Barkley with Michael Wilson might be your better move. And I think I do that no matter what. Let's see here. I would say that Knicks, Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Rice, Kelsey, Henderson, Harvey, Odunze, Burden. This team could also win. Garrett Wilson on IR, last moves before the deadline. I'd say because you have Gibbs and because you have Rice, you're in such good standing. I wouldn't freak out, panic, or do anything wild. However, would I consider moving potentially something along the lines of like Garrett Wilson, someone getting excited about his return with Kyron Williams to get an upgrade at RB, to get something a little bit more secure or something that has more home run potential. Look, Bijan could be had for cheaper than people, realize right now. I know people think they can't get Bijan for pennies on the dollar, and I'm not saying you'll necessarily get him at that exact price tag, but you'll get him at an extreme discount. Kyron and a potential Garrett Wilson might land you somebody freaking out on Bijan right now. Might land you some sort of Bucky trade. Might get you Kyron Williams and Garrett Wilson. Might get you a potential Dowdle and something before Dowdle plays. So you got to look into all those scenarios. But I do believe your team, you shouldn't panic on. I still believe in Kyron Williams. The offense is fantastic. The Rams look great. The only player that you would question right now helping you would be Odunze / Garrett Wilson with that spot. Hard to know what's going to happen, but I think it's still covered pretty well. I do like Odunze. I just hate his situation because it's so rotational. But I do think Garrett Wilson could still bring value, but I'd rather get rid of it than worry about it, wonder about it, and hold out hope, and then he ends up never helping you. I would say I use Garrett Wilson to upgrade Kyron. That's probably my focus on with that team because I don't think you're expecting much from Garrett Wilson right now, and you could probably lean on Odunze enough to say, hey, let's lean on Odunze, take that risk, let's upgrade Kyron slightly. 12-team PPR first place: Gibbs, JT, RJ, Caleb, Daniel Jones. I think that's Quinshawn. Quinshawn. I didn't know if that was St. Brown's brother you were trying to write there. Wide receiver, J-Mo, Garrett Wilson, Ricky, Watson, McBride, Gadsden. Need a wide receiver bad. Trying to trade one of my running backs so I can get a good stud. like Pickens. Good luck getting Pickens. Pickens is probably off the table at this point, bro. But yeah, one like him. Who can we find that's Pickens-esque? Somebody that can rise up, somebody that can be worth more than they're worth right now. I would say probably my favorite wide receivers to acquire in that context would probably be. It's tough, bro. It's not like you can buy a lot of wide receivers cheap right now. JJ, we don't even know if he can be a top 20 wide receiver, but he is the most attainable top 10 wide receiver talent-wise. We just don't know if the situation will allow him to even produce top 20 wide receivers moving forward. Pickens is a legit wide receiver too, says Jim. Jim, he's a top 8 wide receiver. What are you talking about, wide receiver too? Pickens isn't a wide receiver too. He's not a legit wide receiver two. He's a legit wide receiver one. He's a wide receiver one in fantasy, and he's a top 5. He might be the number 1 wide receiver on his team. I love Lamb. I'm not discrediting Lamb or trying to tear Lamb down, but let's not act like Pickens is anything in the realm of a wide receiver two, bro. I would say, with this squad, I'm looking to keep JT, Judkins, Gibbs. I like this squad a lot. I like the other question. I'm probably trying to move Garrett Wilson. What do I move Garrett Wilson with? I don't know. I think in order to move anything real substantially, you're going to have to get rid of something, and I don't want you to get rid of something. You're not going to be able to move JMO right now. Ricky Pearsall, maybe. Watson, maybe. I don't want you moving McBride. Gadsden can't get you anything. I don't think there's much for you to do. If you wanted to move like Garrett Wilson for like a Lad McConkey on a whim, I don't mind something like that. Or potential Harvey and Garrett Wilson for a slight wide receiver upgrade. Maybe you could get a JJ for a Harvey and a Garrett Wilson, but I don't think there's much to move with your squad. Your team's so good, you're almost in stand down mode than you're in anything else. They just named Sanders a starting quarterback. Yeah, but even if that does, let me just pull this up right now because this news might have just broke. Hold on. Let me see. Yep, it just did 8 minutes ago. We've been live ranting for 27 minutes. Thanks for that, KJV. Kind of shocking, to be honest, but it still doesn't change anything. Kevin Stefanski, Dylan Gabriel has clear concussion protocol, but Shedeur will start Sunday versus the 49ers. You got to wonder if this guy is even going to acknowledge Sanders in the way he should. It still doesn't do anything to me in terms of my opinion. I still am completely upset about how they've handled this. And this is the right move. This is the only move. Like, they're doing the right thing right here by starting him, but it's not something that they've been so disrespectful with this situation. This doesn't change anything for me. I'm surprised they're doing this, to be honest. I'm surprised they're making the right call. Would not shock me in the least if they said we're going back to Dylan Gabriel. They almost can't, though. They almost can't. They almost have to start Shedeur. And this isn't a surprise, and this is no pat on the back to this staff. This staff should be ashamed of themselves. And how they handle the next week and how they talk up Shedeur will try and potentially repair the way they've handled this situation, but doesn't change anything in terms of my viewpoint and what I feel about this coaching staff. They should be ashamed of themselves. But yeah, it looks like Shedeur was named the starter, which is fantastic news for Shedeur himself and his preparation. Let's see. It looks like J.J. McCarthy has been placed in the concussion protocol, which is being called a soft bench. J.J. McCarthy in the concussion protocol will most likely be sitting. That will be a avenue to get J.J. McCarthy off the field. So crazy. All right, let's move on to this next question here. Thank you, KJV. Appreciate you. Would you try like Gibbs for ETN and Pickens? Bro, you trade Gibbs and this is for your own good. You can't trade Gibbs, bro. Not only that, like that's not even. I love Pickens and ETN's a good player, but if you doubled this, I'd tell you absolutely no. Do not trade Gibbs at all. Gibbs shouldn't even be on your mind as a player to trade. I mean, not even one single bit. 7-5 can't trade. How does my team look for the playoffs? Knicks, Purdy, JSN, Pickens, London. Love it. Team looks good. You're a little light at running back. Oh, actually, you're not. You're just listing it up. Okay, Chase Brown, Hendo. Anybody else hiding on your McBride? Okay, yeah, no, your team looks really, really solid. I mean, a little light at running back until Hendo gets fed properly, and that may or may not happen. I do believe it will. So yeah, this team could be crafty. Do I think you're the best team in the league? Probably not at a glance, but do I think you could take out one team at a time and win the championship? Absolutely. So, like, are you a top 5 team? Probably. Trade Lamb, London, and Judkins for CMC and Devontae Smith. Yeah, I think at this moment you should do that trade. There's pros and cons. I mean, Lamb, I think, bounces back. To what degree, we don't know. London may be diluted now with Kirk Cousins, but maybe still is extreme value. Judkins, we said, would score 2 touchdowns this week, and he did. And I think he's got good value. But at the end of the day, Devontae Smith could definitely climb into a near value of London or Judkins to a degree that you say you take CMC. So that would be probably a pretty easy accept, even with the risk of CMC potentially getting beaten into the ground the next handful of weeks. But I mean, he's got a nicely placed bye week, and that deal should probably be done, bro. Trade away Lamar to get Dak. I would rather have Lamar. Lamar might be done. What do you mean Lamar might be done? Lamar's not done. I would rather have Lamar. I think Lamar still has a potential to really help win some leagues. I think you're a little overreactive. Not to mention, Dak is nice, bro. I like Dak, but I'd much rather have Lamar Jackson. 7-5 can't trade. How does this team look for? Oh, I just did that one. Thank you, pal. Appreciate you. I mean, trust your gut. If your gut says Dak, I'm not hating that. I wouldn't send you on a lap for trading Lamar for Dak, but Lamar's done is a wild statement. Thinking about riding my studs rest of season hurts. JT, Judkins, Puka, Rice. I like the team a lot. Caleb, I'm clear to stick with my starters, no subs. I think it's a pretty good squad, bro. I mean, JT, Judkins, Puka, Rice, that's not a pretty good squad. It's a really good squad. George Pickens, why would you trade any of it? There's not a single player I want to move unless I'm moving, let's say, Judkins to go get. I'd like Dowdle a little bit more, but what are you going to have to give up? Would Caleb get you that Dowdle move? I'd probably rather have Dowdle over Judkins, but that's it. I mean, I really look at the squad and I just think, you're set, bro. So I would definitely say you're probably one of the more stand down, don't do anything type teams I could stumble upon. Rise Above says, I'm not trading Gibbs and I don't own him. Nobody should be trading Gibbs. It's crazy, bro, to even consider it. Currently 9-3, first place, 0.5, 14 teams. Thanks. Great job, bro. Proud of you. Congrats. Jeez, man, this Shedeur stuff's crazy. Good he's starting. I'm happy for him that he gets to go out there. I mean, can you imagine if they decided not to start him? If JJ McCarthy cannot clear the concussion protocol, man, they're going with Maxey. I don't know. Maybe he's a hidden gem. Let's see if we can find any other news that's breaking. Joe Burrow on Instagram. Joe Burrow posted this on Instagram. He's back, and Joe Burrow is sitting there. That's great. Love that. Joe Burrow to the moon. Get Joe Burrow in your lineup. Again, Shadur Sanders, name the starter. Shockingly, to be honest with you, but it doesn't change anything. That doesn't erase all of the disrespect and the disrespectful way they've approached this situation, trying to set this kid up for failure, but he won't allow it. Shedeur won't allow it. Shedeur went out there and delivered.
Mashed potatoes!
I smell meatloaf.
Let him cook.
And no one's saying Shedeur's incapable of failure. No one's saying Shedeur's the best quarterback in the National Football League. But Shedeur went out there and did it. Good for him. I'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern, probably sooner with some sort of breaking news show. Appreciate every single one of you that dropped a super chat. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you, BBQ with the 20. Thank you, 2306 with the 20. Thank you all for the rest of the super chats that you dropped. I'll be back probably before 8 p.m. on some sort of breaking news show, but at least be back at 8 p.m. Eastern to kick off the game and then we'll be back for the wrap-up show. Appreciate my mods. Later, BBQ. Later, Travis, Blackbeard, Sick Nasty, Space Ricky, DeBalt, Vampy, Simi Valley. Who am I missing on my mods? I'm sorry if I did miss somebody. I appreciate every single one of you. See you later today, at least twice.